California! We are at 9 pips for California.
What is Brayrand doing in Missouri?
I don't understand putting that much money into Louisiana.
North Carolina going into the Republican
One of the
Conference.
most stunning results in 270 live history.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching, and thanks for tuning in to 270 Live. We're here today in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana, at Lucas Oil Stadium for this epic showdown between number 3 seed Steven and number 5 seed JA. They both have fought their way through the losers bracket, pulling off some truly exceptional upset wins. But today they're going head-to-head to see who moves on and who gets eliminated from this third annual 270 Live tournament that's been nothing but chaos. As always, I'm Keegan Fong in the booth alongside Brayrand. And Brayrand, what do we have in store for this exciting matchup here today?
Yeah, guys, you're in for a treat. This is going to be a really exciting match. We have two players, who came in, Zigbur, who comes in hot, high-seeded, and then he takes a upset loss, and he goes down to the losers bracket. Then you got JA, who comes in as a new entrant. Not too many games played, but he comes from the highly prestigious Ryan Martinez Academy, so we're, hoping to see good things out of him, and he puts in a really good show, but manages to take a loss. Once they're both in the losers bracket, they both have to fight and overcome adversity, and they get upset victories over you and I in particular. So, bit of a smarting game for us to have to announce. But now here we are with this, really exciting matchup where two players are really just trying their hardest to prove that they have what it takes to, work their way back up through the ladder.
Yeah, like you said, it's been super exciting to see these guys fight their way through this tournament and make it this far. They've certainly both built up quite a fan base. And as a part of the pregame show today, I want to bring on JA superfan Riley, who's on the phone. He's a lifelong JA fan. He's been super excited to watch his guy play these matches in this tournament. And Riley, what do you make of today's match, and how are you feeling as a JA superfan today?
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. It is so incredible to see JA live in the flesh. Oh my gosh, I mean, he's inspired me to write my own application to the Ryan Martinez Academy. I just idolize him. He's going to win. It's not even going to be close here. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. And on a complete other side of the coin, we've had this one fan who's been shouting at us the entire time that we've been setting up here before the game. He actually tells us that he's not a fan of either opponent, but he's a hater of Zigbur. What do you expect to see out of here, Tyler?
I expect to see an absolute slaughter. When Zigbur played against Tyler, in the early rounds of the loser bracket, I'm a firm believer that he should have lost. Tyler played a better game, just didn't know the rules. Refs are bullshit. Zigbur's a fraud. Get him out of here. This man shouldn't even be here.
All right, well, we're happy to have the passion on both sides of the coin here. All right, Keegan.
And that just shows the amount of enthusiasm for this matchup here in Indianapolis. It's technically a neutral site field, but there's a lot of JA fans in the crowd. I can see them all across this section that we're standing behind. A ton of JA fans, so that's going to be interesting to see how they react should JA be able to pull off this win. We see right now that so far Steven has entered the match. He is going to be playing as Ron DeSantis. And meanwhile, we don't know just yet who JA is going to pick, but JA's been playing a lot of Republicans. What do you expect out of him when it comes to candidate selection, Brayrand?
This is going to be a really interesting chance for JA to prove what he has, in his tank. He has a good grip of the fundamentals, as we've seen from close matchups, but he has played in all three of his games, his first loss and then his upset victories over myself and over Abigail. A pretty one-dimensional play style where he's bringing really heavily into that, very classic, Ryan Martinez doctrine of Republican Old South candidates. So to see Zigbur playing a Republican and forcing JA to play a Democrat is going to be particularly exciting for us.
Yeah, I think we're getting a slight interference on the feed here. we know that both candidates have actually had technical difficulties over the past couple weeks. Steven with his computer completely crashing out, and JA with some other technical difficulties. Do you have concerns that might impact the play here as we see the results from the first round actually here populate on our screen?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we don't have any further issues. Our broadcast has had a little bit of a stutter here, but hopefully the actual gameplay is unaffected. That's what we love to see. We love to see the players battling through, strange like weather and, electoral situations and never having to fight a TV camera.
I mean, I find it interesting to note that, like, you, for instance, played out of a diner in the middle of Kentucky the other day. So it's not unusual for our tournament performance to be in adverse situations. Would you not argue that's part of the excitement of this tournament is the adversity that you got to overcome?
Oh, 100%. That's what makes you a good player here, and really shows your grip and understanding of the electoral system that we battle through. Is to be able to do that in any situation with any amount of time.
So we're going to see a Ron DeSantis entrance into Florida. Meanwhile, Pete is going to be picking up 3 pips in some of those town and gown states. I think we expect another New York pip. Meanwhile, where is Ron DeSantis going to put his other money? Is he going to go on the offensive in a state that might be competitive? Not necessarily. So with turn 2 over, DeSantis is going to pick up Old South. He will go to 77 electoral votes. Meanwhile, Pete at 52 with town and gown surely to come this turn.
Yeah, I mean, a very classic start here for DeSantis with the, easy 2-turn securing of the Old South. He's clearly already projecting a little bit into Florida, so we may see ourselves a swing state play, so we might have a little bit of clash. And there it is with Arizona. So.
Yeah, we got a 2-pip by DeSantis in Arizona. Meanwhile, he's going to go up to 3 in Florida right out the gate, 2 in Georgia. He's going to shore up Massachusetts and enter Michigan. That's an interesting one. So we're surely to have some conflicts in swing states in the upcoming turns. 101,000 going to Pete. What does that town and gown bonus mean to a player who's taking on a Pete role in this race, Brayrand?
Yeah, that town and gown bonus is great. It serves as the complementary for the Old South, where you're able to have like strong money that allows you to defend like a home base state group that you can use to try and secure other ones. We have in the Old South, you can parlay into both swing state and into manufacturing pretty easily, and you use that Old South money to defend that core chunk. Town and gown provides the real same kind of benefit for a little bit of swing state, but really for a high-tech pivot, which is why I'm actually surprised that we haven't seen a Utah play yet. That's very typical to use that town and gown money to get that high-tech points in Utah. And really, he should be pretty close.
I mean, I do want to note that just from the gameplay we've seen, both these players tend to be a little more conservative, a little more passive on their attacking than maybe someone from the Keegan Fong Academy. So this could be a prolonged game. What do you think are the keys to win if this ends up being a 15, 18, 20-turn game?
The real keys are going to be who can get into the other people's states, quick enough to be able to attack, while not having to battle through a ton of money. If they wait too long, then there's just going to be, I'm going to go in a town and gown state, and they're going to dump, $600,000 and immediately lock it up because they just have had that money sitting there. So you got to avoid that situation. Whoever can, manage to segue themselves in the early doors enough is what's, absolutely necessary.
So pretty big moves out of that turn 4. Just a small note, I am a little confused by this 4-pip by DeSantis in Maryland, but beyond that, he's picking up 135,000 in swing state money. We do have our first overlap states. It's going to be Michigan, where JA holds the lead, and Pennsylvania, where JA holds the lead by 1, but no 3-pips. It's only 2-1 there. So maybe some states at risk of getting stolen by the Republican. Meanwhile, another big DeSantis move, he's in the state of Illinois, so he's going to start creeping closer and closer to African American as we can see that competition come in. Here are the returns from turn 5. DeSantis in Alabama. JA is going to enter Arizona, 2-pip in there. 3 pips for the Dem in D.C., 3 for DeSantis in Illinois, and whoa, over the top, DeSantis taking the lead in Michigan. That's a huge loss for the JA camp. Meanwhile, JA defending Pennsylvania, going up to 4. DeSantis in South Carolina. In Tennessee, working towards African American. J.A. going to 3 in Utah. And another pip in Wisconsin. So a monumental shift out of that turn. DeSantis is going to pick up African American as well. 167, 100. And Brand, what does that Michigan do for J.A. right now?
Particularly that Michigan swap helps. It helps DeSantis because he gets the African American, and what that does for JA is it makes his swing state push really difficult. If DeSantis is holding Michigan and Arizona and Florida and North Carolina and Virginia and Georgia, like this is going to be really tough for him to try and battle back out of. He's going to need some alternate money here in the form of high tech or something, and pronto.
DeSantis is going to block any Pete move in Arizona, so that gets locked up for the Republican. Pete's in California, so that's a fairly early California pip. Stephen is going to secure Michigan, and it's 15 electoral votes, so that will remain in the Republican column. Meanwhile, Jay in Minnesota, DeSantis in Ohio, and South Carolina, and Tennessee, more African-American states. And Jay is going to get to 3 in Wisconsin. No competition there just yet, though that could be a DeSantis pickup opportunity. 194, 154. DeSantis in the lead in this turn 7, and you gotta say it feels like DeSantis is taking command of this game so far. Don't you agree, Brayrand?
Oh, 100% I do agree. The split here is only 40 electoral votes, but this is a very late entry without a lot of momentum into California, and he's going to have to spend $400,000. That means not this turn, not turn 7. He's going to have to complete it on turn 8, not going to see any benefits for California until turn 9. He's probably not going to get high-tech until turn 9. And that entire time, he's already lost 2 major battleground states where a lot of money's been spent in Arizona and Michigan. He's holding on to Pennsylvania at the moment, but you really have to wonder how long is that going to be able to last? If he doesn't get high-tech money to defend Pennsylvania until turn 9, which it really doesn't seem like he's going to, then DeSantis is going to come at him with that manufacturing money. I mean, just look at Ohio.
Yeah, no, DeSantis certainly has more ground to gain. That's got to be a concern for the JA camp, as Mississippi for the Republican, North Dakota for the Dem. He is going to enter Nevada, so that's an interesting one. Oh, wow, both candidates putting a ton of money in Pennsylvania. JA blocking him perfectly at the 7 line, and that means, look at that burn. That is a massive amount of money, $360,000 for the Republican. So the electoral vote count is not going to shift a whole lot, 163 out of that turn, but man, is that a huge money burn in Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. That would have been a really crippling blow if JA had lost Pennsylvania. Would have made it much, much harder to retain any kind of effort against DeSantis here. So that was a crucial block, but it really does hurt JA as well. We had a $400,000 spin from DeSantis and a $200,000 spin from the mayor. So really uneven split. And even if you manage to block him, you're still burning half of your money in Pennsylvania, and that is just tough.
And what I'd like to talk about is, like we said, both these players tend to be a little more conservative on their attacking. And right now, Pennsylvania is the only overlap state. There's so many states taken, and there doesn't seem to be an appetite to be competing except for in that key 19 electoral vote state, as we see some DeSantis pips in some other periphery states, Kentucky, Colorado, Mississippi, Pete's in North Dakota, Pete's finishing off Nevada. DeSantis 3 pipping in Ohio, and Pete's going to hold his lead in Pennsylvania. That's a big buy, up to 8. DeSantis going to go up to 4. DeSantis is going to pick up 25 more electoral votes, but Pennsylvania looks pretty secure in the Democratic column. What does Jay have to do to keep the momentum here after a great defense of Pennsylvania to swing the tide of this match?
Well, unfortunately, we were talking about how we wasn't going to see any high-tech benefits until turn 9, and that's been delayed a turn further because of how much money they've spent. And it's actually almost 2 turns further, because look at California, a single pip. That's not doing much for him, and he still does not have high tech. And I would expect to see manufacturing come in this turn. I mean, he's got only 1 pip to go in both Kentucky and Indiana, and that will almost certainly be enough to get it to him when he already has Michigan. Texas is the next big play. If I were DeSantis, I'd be going in Texas this turn. What do you think?
I definitely think that's the route. I do actually want to question your math here. Hangman is the type of strategy where you run the table on the manufacturing states without Texas. I'm sure with Wisconsin and Pennsylvania off the board, sure DeSantis can hangman it on manufacturing. He's got a decent amount to go. We'll have to see, but I'm a little skeptical on that math here, as we are going to see a J.A. Pip into California, so he's up to 2. There's your 3 in Indiana. He's going to enter Iowa, so that swing state money is probably going to go into play there. Pete is going to go into Maryland, as well as Maine and Missouri, so some more town and gown shenanigans from the Democrat. Meanwhile, DeSantis going after swing states, Nevada, New Hampshire. He's entering New York. I'll get your opinion on that one in a second. He's going to enter New York and Texas in the same turn. Meanwhile, Pete's going to edge in Virginia, but DeSantis holds lead there. And DeSantis is going to enter Wisconsin. So a huge monumental turn here. No gains on the state groups, but 265 DeSantis, 184 Pete. What do you make of these massive moves by the DeSantis camp here?
All right, well, so on like a defensive side, he had already gotten an extra pip in Maryland, so he's got a bit of a head start in there. I like spending some money in Virginia preemptively. He correctly predicted those moves. Going on the attack in these swing states is also a pretty good idea, considering he's got other swing states pretty down pat and locked up, and just frankly under threat. Under no threat with Georgia.
I'm going to cut you off here, Brayrand, because that was a quick turn. 3 pip for Cali for the Dem. Iowa max out for Pete. New Hampshire, that's a max out from Pete. So where's this DeSantis money going? No, DeSantis is going to creep up to 2 in New York, and he's going to steal Pennsylvania. Wow, that is a huge coup for the Republican. Meanwhile, DeSantis locking out Virginia, and then Wisconsin. Pete's going to edge up by 1, 4-1 there. So that is a huge turn. DeSantis is going to pick up manufacturing base. Meanwhile, though, with that 3 pip into California, Pete is going to secure high tech. Maybe a little too late because he has lost Pennsylvania. Brayrand, what's your thoughts on this turn?
At this point, that high tech is meaningless. Gaining that high tech money, for what? What is he going to use it for? There's almost nowhere to defend with it. It'll be useful in New York. I'll concede that. And frankly, I'm not really sure what DeSantis is doing with the New York play. If I were him, I'd be putting my money in Texas and using the New York to scare J.A. into spending that high-tech money in New York.
I think that's exactly what he's doing, though. Because, the math doesn't seem favorable for DeSantis to be realistically challenging in New York, does it?
No, not really. He's going to have a $110,000 deficit in terms of state groups that can be spent in New York. And what does he even stand to gain necessarily? Like African American, I guess, but.
Well, we'll see how this turn as we see Jay going to 3 in Maryland, not taking it. That's an interesting buy there. 3 in Missouri. 4 in North Carolina for DeSantis. He's going to take over Nevada, swing that 6 electoral votes. 2 pip by Jay in New Jersey and New Mexico. Here's the big one, New York. Oh, and that might be the game here. DeSantis going over the top. And you got to wonder, that money going to New Jersey and Missouri, is that not better spent defending New York, the base of his game, as DeSantis is going to take the state groups, and that means Jay is down to less than 300,000 on this buy out of turn 12.
Unfortunately, this is where JA's lack of just on-field reps really comes into play here, because Missouri and New Jersey are infamous as 2 of the worst states in the game, and putting money into those instead of defending New York, just a terrible play. Frankly, terrible play. So we'll see if he can recover here, but this is quite the pickle to be in. Behind in New York, behind in Maryland, barely holding on in Wisconsin, and that's about it in terms of the conflicts.
And we talked about this before. Jay's not an aggressive player, both in real life and in this game. He's not really in any. He hasn't entered any DeSantis states besides Virginia and Maryland. All the other states that they have conflict in, he took the lead and eventually lost. So this is kind of really a passive game for him, as DeSantis, I'm sure, is going to bring up his lead in this turn. Alaska, Hawaii. DeSantis is going to defend Maryland, a full max out there, so Pete will not be taking Maryland. Pete's going up in Maine. Not sure I understand that one. DeSantis in Nevada. DeSantis is going to lose Nevada to Pete, temporarily perhaps. Meanwhile, DeSantis up to a 2-pip lead in New York. More odd pips by Pete in some of these periphery town and gown states. I'm not sure he can even get town and gown without New York at this point. Wisconsin maxed out for Pete, so that will go to his column. And DeSantis in Wyoming. This is shocking. Buys. Pete is going to pick up town and gown, so maybe there is a chance that he gets New York, but talk me through the path to victory for Pete here, because I'm not seeing it, Brayrand.
Yeah, holding pound and gown is going to help him a little bit, but look at the difference in money. 361 to 882. That's a $500,000 difference. Frankly, I don't think the path is there. The fat lady is basically singing. DeSantis needs to go ahead and finish out ballot rushing. We've got a lot of locked up states. They need to finish the ballot rush. Go ahead and put Pippin to every other state. You have a 76 vote margin. Just go ahead and end it.
I do want to throw it down to our sideline reporter, Riley, who's reporting from the JA camp. Riley, what can you tell me about what JA is feeling, especially after what we're seeing is pretty surprising, a runaway victory imminent from Steven?
Yeah, thank you, Keegan. I mean, I think it's just a real sense of depression down here. I think, a lot of his strategy and his team's strategy was based on the assumption that they'd be keeping New York. So just a real tonal flip when that happened. I mean, just hands and heads, staffers and coaches in tears on the sidelines. And I think just not really a great sense of where to go from here.
Thanks, Riley, as the lead is only going to grow for DeSantis. He's up to 382, and it is going to be ballot. Jay did notably Pippin in New York, but it's certainly a little too late. Brayrand, is the math even favorable here? Could he even mathematically win it?
It's not that it's not even favorable. It's that it's mathematically impossible. This game has been over for the last 3 turns. We really hate to see a turnout like this. I honestly, frankly, expect the margins for DeSantis to only go up. He could lose New York and still win this game. At this point, it doesn't matter too much. He only really stands to lose New York and Illinois.
And Brad, I want to get your thought on this. I think this shows a very clear deficiency in the Ryan Martinez Academy and its trainings and doctrines, because you see right here firsthand that prime Ryan dig your heels in and defend. I mean, I don't know if we've seen a map where candidates not in as many states as JA is. He's only in less than half the board here. Like I said, I feel like this is a major deficiency and vulnerability in the Martinez train of thought. What's your take on that as we see these final ballots return? I don't think it's even going to remotely matter.
This is what happens when you have somebody who gets those initial tenets from the Martinez school and then doesn't have the reps to be able to actually put it into use. Martinez remains a pretty adaptable player. He digs in and defends, but he remains a adaptable player towards the mid to end game, and that's why he's so successful in the tournament. It's hard to completely shake him because he understands when to pivot. J.A. learned those initial principles. He can identify when to fight, but he doesn't know when to pivot yet, and that's just a lack of an experience, I think.
So a pretty crippling loss here. Steven is going to ride away with a massive victory, both on the money side, on the electoral count side. It's 402-136. It's one of the largest wins in this tournament so far. And again, we are going to have our candidates interviewed after this defeat. I mean, look at this board. It's shocking, to say the least. So I'm going to give you time, Brayrand, to work your way down to talk to our winner, Steven. Meanwhile, I think I've got Riley. He's on the J sideline. Riley, take it away with this post-game interview.
Thank you, Keegan. J.A., just started off, pretty resounding defeat on your end. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think went wrong in that game?
Yeah, today was not my day, and that's okay. I mean, those days certainly happen. I think I really struggled to get, just get state groups early, and I think Steven's ability to really kind of pounce and get state groups early on his side and get more money really benefited him there. And certainly, I think, and this is due to just my lack of experience in some ways, but I don't think I've ever played as a Democrat before, so that was a very fresh experience for me. I think maybe I had once in the training, but I had put so much of my focus into playing as a Republican and kind of really honing in that experience that that's just something we'll have to work on the off season. But them's the breaks, and wonderful job and great play by Steven. I mean, really a masterclass in how the game is played. And I just wish him the best in the rest of the tournament. And it was such an honor to make it this far, and I look forward to next year.
Certainly. And if I can just get your thoughts really quickly. You mentioned training, you mentioned the off season. Do you think that training is going to be with the Ryan Martinez Academy?
Most
do you
definitely.
think that coaching had anything to play with what happened here?
I think I definitely will be returning to the Ryan Martinez Academy, and he, did a fantastic job training me, and he did train me for these situations. But I think my memory just wasn't great with these, and it's okay. That's just, I think, something to work on with him in the off season. But I know that he is going to really grill me on my ability to play with Dems. So we'll get there. But there's always next year. Always next year. I got a career ahead of me. No, I'm just kidding.
Certainly. Appreciate JA, and congrats on a wonderful first tournament.
Thank you so much.
Send it back up to the booth, Keegan.
Thanks, Riley. And I do want to note that the Keegan Fun Academy does teach its members how to play both candidates, which seems apparently to be a groundbreaking discovery. Meanwhile, Brayrand, take it away with our winner, Steven, down there.
All right, I'm down here with our winner of frankly a whooping. First of all, congratulations, Steven. I want to say, you had a little bit of an atypical strategy. We saw some interesting plays. Particularly, we were surprised to not see you go into Texas, and then you went into New York instead. Can you talk us through what was the decision-making rationale behind that? And, obviously it worked out, but, what were you hoping to achieve when you decided to make that choice?
Absolutely. So first off, I want to say hats off to Jack. He's had a phenomenal tournament, and, he's going to be a staple of this game for years to come. So I don't want to take any of the praise away for him and the work that he's put in over the course of this tournament. He's a bright young player. With the New York play, I just, it kind of worked out that way. I saw that y'all were, I didn't hear anything, but, at the very beginning, I thought y'all were a little surprised to see me play Ron DeSantis, but I really like the bonuses, kind of the lack of a penalty with African-American, the real big bonus for swing state. So Jack didn't really challenge me in my African-American state. So it was almost free money to go into New York. So it didn't cost me anything. So when I saw that opportunity, I just knew I had to take it.
100%. That makes a lot of sense. At what point do you think that you thought that you actually had it in the bag? Because, in the commentary booth, there was a major moments where we could tie the momentum. We were like, all right, this is, unless drastic actions happen here, it's looking bad. But at a certain point, the game, a few turns before it actually ended, was clearly over. At what point did you start going, okay, this is the end game?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to say a very interesting point, at least in my own mind, where I thought that I really had a great shot. And that was maybe turn 3 or 4 when I was able to secure Arizona without him going in, because that's a big state, if you're a Democrat going to town and gown to try and get African-American. And then when I was able to get that swing state money by taking Michigan, I knew that I was just going to get $135,000 every turn. That was going to give a massive windfall to take Pennsylvania, because without those two states, you have to have New York and Cali to take high tech. And I think from there, I knew that I was just going to have a money advantage the rest of the game.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for the comments. Consummate professionals in this game today. A thrilling matchup, despite a ultimately lopsided victory here. Keegan, back to you in the booth.
Thank you, guys. As Brayrand said, a pretty lopsided final score here today, 402-136, but that score definitely doesn't indicate how exciting and intense this matchup was here in Indianapolis. As for our loser today, J.A., it's unfortunately the end of the line for him in this third annual 270 Live tournament. I know he was a pretty big fan favorite, but this is definitely not the last we'll see of him. He's got a bright future ahead, and surely he's got a long career in the 270 Live world, despite his insistence maybe to stay in the Ryan Martinez Academy. As for our winner today, Steven, he is moving on to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. He'll be awaiting the loser of the next matchup, the showdown between Ryan and Riley in New York City, Madison Square Garden, the Big Apple. So, loser of that matchup will be facing off to Steven in this loser's bracket final matchup. I've been Keegan Fong here in the booth in Indianapolis, and on behalf of myself, Brayrand, Sideline reporter Riley, and the whole crew, thank you for watching, and as always, good night, Omaha.